Hello, this is Ewan for Marketing Mix. It's a wee story about the shop initially, what we do. We're called Recycle Sydney. We sell second-hand bikes, mostly. We do vintage bicycles as well, from about the last 40 years onwards. We also conduct low-cost repairs. We also do custom builds for people who want a particular style of bike, and we also customise people's bikes into something else, maybe turn it into a commuter or just make it more adaptable for them to use. My story starts in the cycling industry. I mean, I've been in cycling for a long, long time. Since I was a kid, I raced BMX to quite a high national level. I've done pretty well at that. Straight after that, got into mountain biking. This is like mid to late 80s. But my time in the cycle industry starts in the mid 90s. I started working for a friend in a shop very similar to this, as a mechanic. We sold used bikes, vintage bikes. I was a sort of head mechanic, and I'd done a bit of sales too. It was that shop that I learned everything I know now, and how to appreciate older bikes. I was working with people that were 20 years older than me, and they knew a lot about the history of bikes, like all the different types of steel, different grades, different group sets, how that affected the price. And I worked there for 6 years, and I still, to this day, that's where I learned the most about how and what we do and why people like that. I mean, obviously the vintage thing is very prominent these days. I'm still one of my best friends, still stays in Scotland. The next shop, well, the customers there are pretty much the same customers we deal with today. I mean, the hipster thing wasn't as big then. People still appreciate vintage bicycles, but not to the same extent as now, just because, you know, this is 20 years later. But the main customers are people that wanted a cheap, reliable bicycle, and they wanted their bikes fixed cheap, and that's how that shop operated. He sold the business in 2002, which was a bad mistake for him. He still realises that, I think. The next place I worked in was the place called the Bike Station in Edinburgh. It was a council-run project. There was 6 full-time mechanics, so I was one of them. We worked from Monday to Friday restoring these bicycles, of all sorts, not just vintage, anything that could be resold. These bikes were donated of the public, and we fixed them up with council-run money, council-backed money. And we had a sale on a Saturday morning, and that was the only time that we opened for sale, because it was just, there would be over 100 people waiting outside, and this is in Edinburgh. Mostly students, 80% students. There would be 100 odd people waiting outside. At this point, I was there for about a year, but 6 months into that, a guy had approached me to open up a used bicycle shop, and I already had this knowledge that there was a big demand for that. That was the only place at that time selling used bikes. So he wanted to open up a bike shop, used bikes. He also knew me from the previous bike shop, and he knew that I was the man to run it for him. So we found premises. It took a while. It's always got to be the right premises. I've learned that lesson. We found a place, we opened up, we called it Soul Cycles, it's still running today. I found the premises, got the name, got the branding done. I was the manager, I was the mechanic for repair work, restored bikes too, hired the staff, and made that shop work. I was there for a year, but circumstances changed for me and I needed a holiday. I was working way too much and I just needed to get away. So I've cut that quick. I went to Canada for 3 months, 4 or 5 months, just to ride my bike, have a bit of fun, spend some time with friends. And my mate who stays in Sydney, one of my oldest mates, I've known him for nearly 25 years, he suggested I come over here and we open up a used bike shop like we had in Edinburgh, Soul Cycle shop. So I came over, was here for 3 months on a holiday visa. We looked into what was going on in Sydney with regards to a shop similar to this. There was 2 shops, Stallion Bikes and Home Feats, both doing similar stuff but a lot more expensive, and there's also a lot of new bike shops all competing against each other. So I was enrolled as a student, business and marketing, had a part-time job, got a part-time job in 2 bike shops in Sydney. They charged a lot of money for repair work. It was like a lot. I mean, it was like basic rates. They were proper businesses, but they were charging a lot of money. But also, when I was working there, I was a mechanic and sales. We would get a lot of people coming in, mostly international students, asking. They would see the price of the bikes, and a reasonable bike, new these days, $400 to $1,000 is kind of an entry-level commuting bike or a mountain bike, road bike, and they would always ask if there's somewhere they could use or buy a second-hand bike. It wasn't Gumtree or eBay. So this set in motion us finding premises, decent premises, and find out what the most bike-orientated parts of the city were, or just find somewhere cheap initially to see if the business would work. At this point, when I was mechanicking at the shops, I was also, we decided to call ourselves Recycles for a number of pretty obvious reasons, and you can see the logo here, it's kind of self-explanatory. I started selling bikes from the shop, from the house I was staying at the time in Randwick. I started a Facebook page, which has been going for, I don't know, about 18 months now, 19 months. I started selling bikes in advertising on Gumtree, and we got quite a lot of people coming around to buy bikes because we said, like, yeah, they're guaranteed for 3 months, they're all sorted out. And we had a brand name and a Facebook page, and we had a holding page as a website. The website's a bit more comprehensive now. Yeah. So we started off at the house, and then through Facebook, a guy contacted me who was running a bicycle festival called Cyclorama. The first one was a year past October. So he asked me if I wanted to get involved, and because it was like a new business, I was like, yeah, what do you... So I was like a volunteer mechanic for there. They had like artwork, bike artwork, nice bicycles, people had like the bikes in for display, and I was there, just people would come in and I'd give the bike a wee tune up, talk to them. say we're starting off the second-hand bike shop, recycles, get them to add us on Facebook, and we kind of built up from there. And the shared space that the festival was in, we managed to get a small space in there to start the business. So we started off in a corner, small bit, and the Facebook thing, we hit that quite a lot, and we'll put all the bikes for sale up on there too. But the mechanic-y thing, there were like locals would come in and do you fix bikes? We'd do a really good job for them, cheap. And the word of mouth thing kind of spread round, and within like 4 months we managed to get quite a big area in this shared space in Darlinghurst. From there it just kind of snowballed. Within 6 months we were looking for premises out with that shared space because we just needed more room. We had the capacity to sell more bikes. The word of mouth thing was just fantastic. I've wasted, in my previous business experience, we've wasted a lot of money on adverts that just didn't work. So through